Here we go for another rockin' awesome Saturday night. Our first program tonight, the Icebreaker. We have got Fran and Joe. They're out of Utica, New York, and they're former Jehovah's Witnesses, and they've only been out of the organization now for approximately a year and a half. And they have a program here on the six screens called The Outside Story. So we're going to bring them in right now. So let's bring Fran and Joe onto the platform. And hello, Fran.
Hello, hello. Joe's going to be joining us shortly.
All right, very, very good. So, what's on the agenda tonight?
Okay. Okay. So we're going to be just talking about what's happening, all the interesting things happening going on in the Watchtower.
Oh, there's a ton of things going on, Fran. I have to tell you, I've been busy here all week long, just news articles, and of course, I know you're going to talk a little bit about the Pennsylvania situation going on down there, and brothers, Jehovah's Witness brothers being arrested. So we're all looking forward to hearing about that. So I'll kind of step in the background and hold on one second. I do have somebody coming in here. I have Susan monitors some of the program. I guess we're all right. When I hear footsteps, sometimes she wants to come in and say something, but I guess we're all set. So, Fran, I'm
Okay.
going to cut you loose and let you go.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good to see you. Thank you for coming on. It's
It's
early.
early.
I know in California it's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Are we getting some feedback? Do you hear anything?
No, I don't. I
Okay.
don't hear anything. You probably have a fan on, do you?
I have a fan on. I can turn it off. Does that bother
Well,
the?
well, yes, we can hear it a lot. It's a little clearer without
Okay.
it on. But if you get
Let me
too hot,
turn it off. Let me turn it off.
okay.
Okay. Now it's off. Is
All
that
right,
better?
it's a little better. But if you get too hot, turn it back on
Oh
again. But
no. Well,
it is
actually,
better.
it's yeah, it's cooled off. We had some really hot weather here in central New York. It was in the 90s, and they had some record temperatures. But we're okay now. Joe will be joining us shortly. But anyway, let's see what's been happening. 4th of July. 4th of July, we had a family reunion, and none of our family were Jehovah's Witnesses, thankfully. Only our four born and raised children who are shunning us. So we went to our family reunion, and there were like 70 relatives, 71 to be exact. And I spoke with a cousin that I had not spoken with in several years. We used to be close. Matter of fact, her name is Fran, too. And she was glad to hear that we were out of the organization, that we were no longer Jehovah's Witnesses. And incidentally, um, her husband and she introduced Joe and I together. So it was kind of a special reunion seeing her there. Unfortunately, her husband died of cancer a few years back, but she was there. And so this morning, I get a text from her. Like I said, I haven't seen her in years, and she's happy that we are out. And she said that just read this. Glad you left for many reasons. So good to see you and hope to see you more. Pennsylvania grand jury charges more Jehovah's Witness suspects with child rape molestation. So she lives near Binghamton, which is close to Pennsylvania. And she knows that we're out, so she thought we would be interested in this story. And Joe and I hadn't heard about it, so here we heard about it through my cousin, and so we watched it. And as many of you know, and Rick's going to be talking about it during his show, that they have found five more pedophiles in the Jehovah's Witness, one of them being an elder. But I just thought it was so interesting because um, she, her husband was a senator in the Binghamton area, right? And so she's very familiar with the politics and the going on and everything. So we'll be uh, keeping close with her and see what develops.
Hello.
I said you'd be a few minutes,
A
and you
few
were.
minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
Worked out good.
So that was the first part of 4th of July. I was just telling them about our family
Mm-hmm.
reunion.
Mm-hmm.
And the second part of the family reunion, we went to see the film The Sound of Freedom. And if any of you are familiar with it, the film was made 5 years ago. And it's a true story, based on a true story of a man named Tim Ballard.
Tim Ballard. Yeah, he was a special. He was he worked for the Homeland Security as an agent, and basically, what they did, they kept busting pedophiles, and he would get pedophile after pedophile. So there have been people actively working to to eradicate or try to get rid of them. But then the point came up in the film that, well, how many people, how many children have you rescued?
Mm.
And at that point, he said, no, we don't, we didn't. So it came about where they realized that this is something that needed to be done, not just getting the pedophiles, because the numbers I don't even have, but the numbers are astronomical. The number of people, children that are being taken, abducted, sold, used, and
Babies,
repeatedly.
18 months old.
Yeah, they have baby mills where mothers, women, girls are taken and become mothers, raped, and then have the babies taken, and then they're put into the system. It's really horrendous. The reason why it works is because there's so much money in it. Unfortunately, there's a very large demand for it by people, by men, maybe some women, who around the world over, have unfortunately a very bad taste for abusing children. Um, And the reason why it's worked so well and why the business is so good is because the people find it so distasteful that they don't want to even think about it. They don't want to recognize it and nor do anything about it. And that in itself is a kind of a cautionary tale that we uh, need to acknowledge things that are too distasteful to even want to think about. That's how they get away with it.
Are we on? Because it says that we're waiting.
We're
Someone, can they verify that we're on?
Don't know. Are we on?
You're on, absolutely. Yeah, you're on.
Okay,
Yep.
all right,
We got
okay.
you.
Okay, good.
Okay. At any rate, so it's developed that the agency, in fact, it started with that individual taking it upon himself, Tim Ballard. It's a true story, to go and rescue two,
Brother and a
a
sister.
brother and a sister.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a powerful story, and from that it's grown and into a huge movement. And initially, again, the film was finished 5 years ago, but Hollywood basically didn't kind of let it get out because it was blowing the whistle on them.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Hollywood just so promotes, and the people in it are some of the worst offenders in it. So it would only point the finger at them. But at any rate, what has been happening is that the force has been coming against that industry and against the individuals who basically are coming to realize that they have to make a change. In other words, they're not going to keep getting away with it, and they don't want to get caught. And it's making people think twice about what they're doing because they're going to come after them, and they are coming after them. But at any rate, this film, the film is incredibly powerful. It's good. It's not necessarily for young children. It's not graphic.
Mm-mm.
It's not graphic, but it's very powerful, and because it clearly shows what's happening.
And some of the reactions of the people, we ourselves
was moving.
was very
Very
moving.
moving.
We went with Joe's sister and brother-in-law David, who's been on the show before, and we were sitting next to a couple. And this one man I was sitting next to, he kept making all these expressions like, "Oh, you know," you could hear him, horrible, horrible. And so I said, I've got to tell him about the witnesses after we're finished. And so I did. And I said, do you know any Jehovah's Witnesses? And he says, yeah, my family, they're all Jehovah's Witnesses. I said, oh my goodness. And then he told us the name. And yes, we're very familiar with the name. It's a Spanish family. And he said, but he never became one. We go, oh, that's good. And then we told him our story. And we just were talking in the theater. And then we went out to the parking lot and we were still talking. And we made instant, like, friends right there.
Yeah.
And other people said that they were hugging each other after the film, but they complete strangers, because this is the impact that it had on people. People were brought to tears. And the fact that it's real and that it's going on, and we know that it's going on in the Watchtower, you know, we felt even a closer attachment to it.
Yeah, I mean, you start to realize that the Watchtower is one of the supporters of this situation. Now, to what extent they are, I don't know. I really don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised at any level or depth that they would be involved. I would not be surprised in the least. Not in the least.
And the reason why they made this film was to promote the problems that are going on worldwide. And at the end, they said, please stay seated for a very important message.
Yeah.
And so the actor came on. I always say his name wrong. Jim Caviezel. And he came on and he said the reason why they made the film and that it's so important that people hear about it. He said, we are going out of our way. We're doing a, not a GoFund, but pay it forward. And they, on the screen, they put a QR code.
Yeah.
So if anybody wanted to pay for someone that could not afford to go to the movie, all you have to do is go to angel.com. Angel Productions is the one that produced it. Angel.com. They have free tickets there, and people were paying it forward. They said they just wanted this to be exposed. They wanted people to know.
Yeah.
And one of the, Tony Robbins is a big supporter of it. He put a lot of money into it. They were finding all these people that would support it because they were really touched by the message of these children.
Yeah. So the movie or the film, I should say, which is a true story, it's like a call to arms. It's like a battle cry. It's like an anthem. It's showing what's happening right now. It's being, it's so encouraging and strengthening to know that the bad guys are going to go down.
Yeah.
And by the same token, that's going to raise awareness of everything that's going on in the organization, because they're going to just point out that they're no better than all the others who support human trafficking. You know, I really don't know to what extent there's human trafficking that takes place in the Watchtower. I don't know. Maybe some people have heard, maybe they know, maybe ones at Bethel may know situations, but are reluctant to say anything about it.
The name of the film, people are asking, what's the name of the film? The Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
It's called The Sound of Freedom.
Don't even hesitate to go see it. You really need to see it, especially if you're concerned about what's going on in the Watchtower. This is part of it.
Nobody got up during the movie.
No.
There was no one was making any sound or anything. It was amazing. It had that impact. And they said that at the same, because this came out 4th of July, they wanted it to come out 4th of July because it's on freedom, freeing these children.
Yeah.
And they wanted to have at least 2 million people that day, and they did make that quota because there's 2 million children that are being in the sex trafficking. and
And it outgrows.
and it outgrossed.
outgrows.
There were two other. There was Indiana Jones, and they said that it went beyond
Yeah,
Indiana
it's an
Jones, and it
absolute,
was a popular one.
it's an absolute success.
And just the reaction again about the people hugging each other. And the producer was, we saw afterwards, we saw an interview with the producer, the actor, and the Angel Productions they were on. And the actor or the producer said, well, that's an Emmy right there. He said, that's my Emmy. The way that
Yeah.
people were reacting. He said, I don't care about, any
Awards.
notoriety or anything. That's not why they're doing it.
See,
So-
and the reason why we are so concerned about this is that this is a very successful outside story. This is on the outside. It's positive, it's powerful, it's happening right now. So anything and everything that we can do to be a part of something like that is what we're working at. And I would encourage anyone of the friends who are either out or seeking to get out, working to get out, to somehow align yourself with a cause bigger than yourself that gets you involved with the world around you. And I'm not going to call it the world, but I'm going to call it the world around you, our world. There are very good people in it, and there's very good things taking place. And
Someone's asking if we can speak a little louder. Can everyone hear us? Maybe health issues. Sorry, no offense.
I'll bring the volume up a little bit, but it's not too bad. I mean, it's fine. I maybe
We can get closer.
do
How's
our
that?
best.
come a little closer. Yep.
I was trying our laptop,
Oh, yeah, that
and
didn't work?
no, I couldn't get on. I was on,
Huh,
but
okay.
we couldn't make the connection.
Okay, we'll do our best.
Yeah, let us know if that's okay. Okay, someone says I hear you guys.
Okay.
Okay. Someone thought that the Sound of Freedom was just on July 4th. No, that was the opening day.
Opening
It's
day.
going to continue. They were having 4 showings a day at the theater that we went to. We thought we were going to have to go to Syracuse, an hour away.
Yeah, we were going to go
Yeah.
but see what happened. See, initially, it was not, we looked up locally and it said not available locally. Well, what has happened in the meantime, people were expressing interest and seeing it. And so the local theater got it
Mhm.
and then put it forth. And
Yeah.
there's just tremendous success about it. It's a real boost for anyone who's concerned about the good things that are taking place in our world.
Mhm.
Our world, not the world, our world.
So when people connect Jehovah's Witnesses, they see these things happening in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
They watch the film The Sound of Freedom. When they make this connection, they're going to see
Yeah.
that this is a problem. The witnesses are not separated from it. They're part of it. So this is the timing in this is perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. And we're going to hear more and more about this. It's not going to be hush hush anymore. So really, if you haven't seen the film or you know someone that hasn't seen it, please encourage them to go see it. Again, you can get free tickets just by going to angel.com. People are paying forward. A lot of people that have seen it are paying it forward.
Yeah, we did ourselves because we want others to see it as well. And so they also said, if you're at all hesitant to want to take advantage of it because you don't feel right, if you can't afford it, whatever,
Right.
it says don't hesitate. There are people are making it available to those that don't have quite enough funds.
Yeah.
They say don't even hesitate. That's why they need people. They want people to see it, and there's good reason, very good reason.
Yeah. So, just to let you know, is that it for that one? Just to let you know, next week, not next week, in 2 weeks, our program, we're going to interview a therapist who was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. Her name is Debbie Glander. She's from California. We spoke with her this week in preparation for it. And She will be on talking about what her experience was in the Watchtower, how she got out, how she went on to become a therapist, and she can take patients that are in California, but anyone outside of California, she says she's trying to come up with a contract. It would, just because of the way the laws are, that
There has to be
it would
more
be
of a
more of a
coaching.
coaching.
Yeah.
She said she'll
Which,
take on
which I'm sure,
coaching.
yeah, which I'm sure would be a really beneficial arrangement.
Yeah, so please stay tuned in 2 weeks. Debbie Glander, if you want to look up her work, she's a therapist and she deals with religious trauma. She deals with marriage, uh, a therapist for marriage, and a few other, for eating disorders. But she'll be talking about, in 2 weeks, she'll be talking about the religious trauma because that's what we are all experiencing.
Yeah, and not only religious trauma, but also there's some of the deeper problems, the sexual abuse that has taken place. There is such a nasty, nasty tendency for people to have suffered from that in their youth and never have gotten any kind of healing to get over the abuse. And they will carry it through their whole lives, and it'll mark their whole life. And you can hide it, you can bury it, but unfortunately it shows through, it comes through, and it comes through in the way we relate to others, the way we perhaps abuse ourselves with other things, with either alcohol, drugs, or just active denial. And it always results in more misery. And it you know it it's not self-imposed misery. No one wanted to go through that in their youth. But unfortunately, it's one of those circumstances where most people just simply don't want to acknowledge it. Maybe a person who suffered that kind of abuse in their youth doesn't even know what happened to them. And if they know what happened to them, it's so painful for them that they just buried it. Um, it's going to come out. What I would say is keep caring for each other and be watching each other and listening to each other, because those people are going to need friends. They're going to need a very serious friend, not just someone who will listen to them, but someone maybe who will help them, point them forward to someone somewhere where they can get some serious help. Serious help. The damage that the damage that was done to them in their youth doesn't even compare to with the damage that they can do to themselves later through self-abuse of alcohol or drugs or whatever else, or the worst of putting an end to themselves. They need a serious friend. If you're there, you can be a serious friend. You may not be a therapist, you may not be a psychotherapist, psychologist, psychiatrist, but you can be a serious friend.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that points them forward and helps them to go forward, because they may not want to go forward. Now, we're not talking about disrespecting the person or their will or their desires, but if a person's a friend, they'll care about them and they'll know how to reach them and they'll try to reach them. And this is something we all can do in our own environment. Obviously, we can reach far and wide with telephone, with the thing that Rick has set up. It's limited. We need to be aware and sensitive to our local situation. And you know who's around you. Um, and unfortunately, the Watchtower has uh, put people. It's brought out the worst in people. It's brought out the absolute worst in people, and it's going to take a long time to figure that out.
If you could ask the therapist next episode when you have her on about the statistics of eating disorders, anorexia, and the witnesses, because I think there is some literature on that.
Sure, sure.
And if we forget to, you
Thank
can
you.
ask her, please,
Yeah.
because she'll be accepting, questions. And if anyone has anything to say now, thank you, Pixie.
Yeah.
If anyone else has anything to say about, because we know that they were conditional friends. We still there? We lost our picture. You still there, Rick?
It's Angela
Okay.
Clark.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Well, can you
Hi,
repeat
Fran.
that? Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Doing the show.
Breaking up. Breaking up.
That was a little weird. Did you hear that? That music?
No, no.
Oh,
Something you broke up.
weird. We have crazy music going on our side.
Very bad.
Anyway,
Very,
what I wanted to say was that. Can
very
you hear
bad
me?
connection.
Angela,
Very-
get near a window. It's breaking up a little bit, but go ahead and get near a window if you can, or near an open space. See if it gets better.
Huh. Yeah, I don't have problems like that in my area. Is that better at all?
You're better now.
Better now. Yep.
Okay, good. I just was going to say that, I think it's really important that we try to do a little bit more phone calling than we have been, because I've always been leery of the texting way of communicating with people to make sure they're doing okay, and doing our part as a community member, a friend, a neighbor,
Mm-hmm.
because I think people can hide a lot behind a few little words on the text that they say, oh yeah, I'm doing okay, and you just think they really are.
Right.
So those days when we sat at a table, we ate dinner together, and we looked in each other's baby blues, and we said, and we'll say, hey, what really, what's going on here? And we could see that. But now the way they do it in the communication is just not getting it done, and I think that it's because it was different back in the day, it probably saved a lot of suicides, because you could look in their eyes and say, come over here, I want to give you a hug.
Yes.
And then they break down and cry, and and it's not the same.
Well, thank you, Angela. That's why I brought up the term of being a serious friend. In other words, there's effort. It takes a lot of effort to be a serious friend. It's easier not to be. It's much easier
so
not.
the problem is, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Just that when people have to do 2 and 3 jobs just to pay the rent, and they're not able to be the kind of friend that they really want to be, because they're having to work just to survive. So unfortunately, for the people that are retired right now, they probably are the best ones to be able to reach out. They have a little bit more time, but people that are still trying to make it in this world, just trying to keep, food on the table, it's extremely difficult, and they just don't have the time. And that's just kind of the society we live in right now. It's not easy. So, I find that some of the people that are retired will cut down the younger ones for not being better at communication and, having people over and that kind of thing, really being a friend. But, to be honest, some people are freaking just trying to survive.
That's it.
That's right.
I like for us that are retired to remember that not everybody's able to do that. So we're going to have to do our best to fill the shoes.
Right.
But we appreciate you saying that, Angela. We've made connections with people, and they'll say, you know, we talked on the phone for 4 hours. It's like they had so much in common, and you know, just someone to listen to them. So if anyone is looking for someone in their area,
Yeah.
or just someone with their same circumstances, you can get in touch with us, and we'll be glad to, you know, connect you.
Or attempt to. See, the goal is to match up people whose situation is workable for each other. In other words, their schedules have to be the same, their circumstances have to be matchable. They don't necessarily have to be in the same area, but they certainly have to be. Their schedules and their circumstances have to work for each other, even for phone conversations. But honestly, the best situation is where we can work out arrangements with people close to us. There's absolutely no substitute for physical closeness. None whatsoever.
No, there's none
So-
whatsoever. And we've got to get real about that. You know, when you give somebody a hug, if you do it the way that most people do it, it literally becomes heart to heart. You
Yeah.
literally so that your heart is touching their heart. I think there's a difference of energy and love that desperately need. So anyway, whatever that
Yeah.
and also once Jen and I saw that movie that you talked about earlier. What's it called again?
The
Sound of
Sound
Freedom.
of Freedom.
Yeah, we saw that last night, and I do highly want to recommend it. And they were very gracious to not get to make everyone super uncomfortable. It's not near as bad as I was imagining it. Not at all.
No,
Not
it
at
was
all.
not.
No.
It was not. It was a.
So it was interesting, you know, because I feel like it's step one, because people can't handle all of it. It's like giving them the whole enchilada. We can't handle it right now. I mean, not most of us, but you know, once we get that part down, then we can realize the reality of it. Because the part that at the end of the movie where they said 150 million children are missing or have been taken or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And America is the one that's the worst in child trafficking. That was like a little bit shocking, don't you think? Because that's not where the movie was focused. So obviously they haven't gone there yet, but it was definitely eye-opening. And I think it's a good beginning to bring awareness. So I thought a very good movie, well put together, great job on it, very touching, great ending. I think anybody should go see it to support these guys. So,
I agree. And honestly, I think personally, we as ex-witnesses and ones who are listening now, who would be called PMOs. Let's say you're still a witness, even though you may not want to be. There's no substitute for the clear stand that you take in favor of the health of you and the people that you're around. In other words, any support we give the Watchtower is going to strengthen the Watchtower. It's not going to strengthen us. The risk that we run when we take that stand, obviously, is the potential loss of our relationships. And I'm not going to recommend that to anybody any more than I find the loss of our family relations is agreeable. We don't like that at all. That's not why we chose to take a firm stand. It's not. Frankly, we were more afraid of not taking a stand against what was happening than we were of losing our family. It may be a very strange thing to hear, but
no, not at all, Joe. I think it's to be commended and a great example for everyone, because you know, I think you lose your mind a little bit by little bit when you don't face this stuff, because you're having to tiptoe around, walking on eggshells, being fake, lying. You know, you have to, or you don't survive in there. So to take a stand means I stand up for my brain, for my sanity, for not losing my mind, to give other people courage to do the same so they don't lose their mind, so that they don't get Alzheimer's and schizophrenia and just dementia and all that crap that comes with having to live that way. We can't live that way. We have to face the fact that we're going to have to get a freaking new family. That's what we're going to have to do. And realize that people on the outside are not bad because we're telling you that they're not. And we've been lied to, and the people outside are actually wonderful. And so, and they're supportive, and they care, and they're the great help. And are they perfect? No, not any more than anyone inside that our religions were.
No one's perfect.
No, I appreciate the support, and we, for our part, just wanted to give a clear example as a couple, as parents, that in order to be honest and truthful, we'd have to take that risk, because maybe my family, maybe some of my family members are going to feel the same way. And they're not going to know if we don't, frankly, lead the way with that. I don't want to be the one that deceives them. I don't want to be the one that fooled them and made them think that, oh, I thought you were interested and you really weren't. And that would be living as in a falsehood. It's a long lesson. It's a long lesson that has to be learned. Some of us have learned it sooner. Some are going to learn it later. But we all need to be there and hang in there for those that continue to come out.
And I drew another parallel from that movie because it really had an impression on me. When Tim Ballard, the actual person, he said the reason why he took on the job because he lost his job with the government. He knew that his life was going to be in danger. He had the support of his wife. And he said the biggest motivation is when he looked in his children's eyes, whenever he thought of any of the ones that were being abused, he immediately thought of his children. And that was like, it was no way was he going to back out of it. He was going to go forward with it. And when we have to look at the big picture, because yes, we think, okay, our family, yes, we're going to lose our family. Yes, we may lose our family, maybe for a short time, maybe for a long time, but we have to look at the big picture and see, well, what else would we lose if we didn't do this? You know, we might lose our own integrity. We might lose our own, the way we look at ourselves, you know, because no one has to answer for ourselves except us. Individually. We have to live with ourselves, and we have to go to bed with ourselves. And so it's a very powerful motivation, at least for me it was.
Yeah, and you know what else too is that I keep thinking about the fact that by him making that choice and really saying yes to God is what I felt like both of those main men were doing, and going and doing what God wanted, and you know, and they were risking, because look at that, their family was left for God only knows how many years while he did this, and you know that's a hard bit of whatever on the marriage, the children losing their father during that time, maybe losing him for good to try to save some children that are being horribly abused. And yet he did the right thing, and look how God blessed him. That last island, he got 120 kids off of it. Wow. 12 sex offenders or child traffickers were caught at that last very dangerous trip. And the first one, how many did they get? I can't remember. I forgot how many the first time when he busted the first group. But children were saved, and a lot of children. So it's almost like sometimes I think men in history have been asked to go to foreign lands and different places to fight for the lives of many, many people at the expense of their own family. But, you know, when you think about it, I know it's a weird way to look at it, but so many were saved, and yet maybe your children suffered and maybe even lost you. But how many more were saved? And I don't know. It's touching to me that right now he's telling us that that people are threatening his life because of this movie that Timothy Ballard. Is it Jim Ballard or Timothy? Anyway, Jim, right?
Yeah, Tim Ballard and Jim
Caviezel.
Caviezel.
Yes, Jim. And yeah, Jim's life is being threatened.
Yes.
And it's like, what? I mean, it's touching that people would say, you know what, this is so important that people get help, that this be stopped, that the right thing be done, that they're willing to give up their very lives. And to me, that's the biggest example in that movie, is those people giving up their lives, not to mention those that have given financially to make it happen. Really big, important people whose lives are, I'm sure they're at stake too. But how wonderful, because that gives us the courage to say, okay, that was done in love, and many people's lives were saved. And if that's what God is asking me to do, then He did it. I can do it too. And I don't know, it's touching to me, because I want to be that big of a heart that I'm willing to give my life to help my brother if God asked me to do that. And it's a very good example. And I just hope that we all could, I don't know, see that, what they sacrificed to bring awareness to the whole world, and to try to get us to do our part, each one of us, to help stop this. So anyway, that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. Any other comments too? Anyone? Something? Any other outside story that you're making?
This is Thomas Hotz from Lawrence, Kansas. Is this, I got on here a little bit ago, is this about the Watchtower, or is this just like pedophilia, or what's this a movie about that was on?
The movie is, Thomas, it's about the worldwide sex human trafficking of of children, of children who are being trafficked.
Based on true story.
True story, and unfortunately, it's the largest profiting business in the world right now.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a lot of pedophilia in the Watchtower that they don't even report it, and all these kids. So that kind of relates to that too as well.
I think it relates directly. I really do.
Yeah,
I really do.
more and more it's coming out, Thomas.
Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised. They're just as involved.
With more people in Pennsylvania. The state of Pennsylvania got busted among the Jehovah's Witnesses too. Rick might even bring it out in the JW World News later on, possibly.
Yeah. No, we discovered that just earlier. It's true. So the reality is, or the point is, where do we want to stand on the situation? Are we going to want to be just basically observers, or is there some way that any one of us or every one of us can somehow support it in our own personal way? And each heart is motivated to do it what it can. I don't want to be the person that says, boy, I wish I did this. I wish I should have done such and such. I don't want to be the one that said that, my family didn't know how I really felt. If they knew, maybe it would have made a difference. We wanted them to know how we really felt.
Yeah, we wanted to make it clear to them, why we were no longer going to be Jehovah's Witnesses after raising them.
Right.
And, it's like spending 36 years of our life and their life, bringing them up in that organization. And now their parents are being disloyal. That was, I can only imagine what it was like for them, because we were a very intact family. Very intact.
Well, when you say intact.
In other words, everyone was still, like they would say, oh, your whole family's in the truth. How unusual that is.
It's true.
To have all your children, all pioneer, all go to a foreign country. It was like, that was the exception. And I'm not blowing our horn. I'm just saying that. So when someone like that leaves, you've got to wonder, man, what was it that made them change their mind? And we're trying to let people know why. And, it was the child sexual abuse, at least. That's what it was
You
for
know,
me.
and this situation doesn't immediately resolve itself,
No.
obviously. There's something called reaching critical mass. In other words, when something is not going to work and it's not going to flow until it reaches a certain level. Reaches a certain level, and then all of a sudden things are going to open up. Things are going to move. And this is where we need to exercise the vision in our own life to ask ourselves, am I going to be at that point where I'm part of that critical mass having helped it go forward? Or was I hanging back just watching, hoping that it would go forward? Everyone's needed. And there's different ways that everyone can make their statement, can show who they are, what they believe, what they value, and it's going to take a risk. There's no one has gotten involved with that organization, with the Watchtower, without being injured and suffering loss. No one. And you can put it off so long. You can put it off just so long, but everyone involved with that organization is going to suffer loss. Question becomes, how are you managing that in your own personal life? Is it going to be where you say, I did this, I wanted to do this way, I did it this way, I'm glad I did it this way, I'm glad I didn't back off of doing it this way? Obviously we don't want to be the one that said, oh, boy, I really should have done such and such. It's a personal integrity issue. It's personal. It's to you. Integrity, your own, not mine. My integrity is for me. Yours is for yours. I'm not going to answer for yours. Couldn't expect you to answer for mine. Really couldn't. And interestingly, this ties in. Fran mentioned it to me earlier. What my father mentioned to me when I told him initially that we were going to begin studying with the witnesses. And right off, he basically accused me of wanting to study with them or join them or whatever, because he felt that I thought it would be easier for me, because then I wouldn't have to do my own thinking. And I understand what he meant, and he was absolutely right. Now, it was not my intention for the Watchtower to do all my thinking for me. It was not my intention. But the snare of it was where if you were to stay involved with that organization, then that's exactly what you have to do. And they obviously know how to get that to happen. And so they end up doing all my thinking for me. Now, if you were to ask me how I thought about that, I hated it. I never liked them. I never liked it one bit. I never did. Why did I do it then? I don't have a good answer. I really don't have a good answer. Had I upheld my integrity, I wouldn't have. I would have stopped after a short while. And I'm not even going to make excuses why we continued. But I will say that I made a very serious mistake staying involved. Very serious mistake.
And I made a mistake wanting to go to the meetings because I'm a social person, and there were instant friends there. Well, that was a mistake because I found out that they really aren't friends. It's just conditional. As long as you go along with the program and do as they say and don't question anything, that it's automatic friends. So when people leave and they're on the outside, to make friends is like it's foreign to them. But there's people out there. There's people that you work with, people that you go to the store and you see at the park, and all you have to do is strike up a conversation and maybe even disclose something about yourself. And people are interested in people. That's what we've noticed. And so you might be afraid, because we were trained that they're worldly and they're bad. Good people find good people. That's what we've noticed.
And that's the point. your motives have to be in front of you. Our motives, my motives, um, I, to just be openly accepting of anyone or everyone, and just expect that everyone's going to, you know, give back in kind to you by being honest and upright. No, it's not. That's not good. You need boundaries. You need to develop the proper boundaries about yourself, and to enforce those boundaries. Um, and it won't be easy. Um, and if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to need to learn. I don't know how to say it any other way. If you didn't learn when you were younger, you got to learn now. And this is something where you can learn from people, situations where they will teach you what it means to have healthy personal boundaries. And through examples, you can learn what that means. Um, there's no easy way. There's no easy way. It'll mean there's risk involved.
Joe?
Yes. Hello.
Hi, Fran and Joe. This is Susan.
Hi,
And I
Hello,
was
Susan.
talking about, you were talking, hi, you know, you haven't been out that long, but you guys are wise beyond your years here. I was thinking about my children and, of course, your children, and they're probably about the same age. And even though they're grown and are married, they're still our children. We
Yeah,
still live
always
together.
will be. Always will be.
Yeah, well, my girls, I have not talked to them in 10 years. And I know that sounds horrendous, but it's kind of what they preferred.
Yeah.
And I know that you kind of put your distance from your kids. And I'm wondering if by trying to respect their boundaries of not wanting to talk to me, you know, should I make more of an effort, or am I just embarrassing them and causing them grief?
Well,
And
no,
more angry?
it's a great question. It's a great question, because the question becomes, well, are those really their boundaries, or are those boundaries that they're putting up with from the society? Because I personally, Fran and I, we don't have to comply with the shunning anymore than we want to. Well, we don't want to. So do we communicate with them? Well, we try.
We send them text
We send them
messages.
text messages.
We don't know if they get them. We don't know if
No
they read
idea.
them.
I have absolutely no idea. But we always leave the door open to say, you know, if any one of you are willing or interested, we're more than willing and open for it. And honestly, what I told them, I said, if any of us want any kind of a relationship with each other, every one of us needs to be ready to forgive each other in ways that we never realized before. It's a test. It's going to be a very real test. And on the other hand, if I have to accept the fact that our family, our children, were our children when they were young, and then that's it, I'm going to have to accept that. Because to force them to continue to be, quote unquote, my children it's nothing I would even want. I wouldn't want my family, my father and mother, to have forced me and compelled me for something that I found against my conscience. I really have to put myself in their position and be sensitive to that.
Yeah.
But yet be open for whatever potential could develop. I really don't know.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to treat them the way they think they should treat us. So, you know, we try to attempt to, you know, it's funny because we only live 6 miles from our daughter and son and son-in-law, and you think that we'd run into them at Walmart or the Aldi's, or we never do, and I'm always ready to, you know, because I'll always, you know, I would go up to them and say hello. If they want to ignore me, you know, like Rick does with his daughter in the grocery store, I'm not going to embarrass her, but I would just say hello, you know, I'm your mother. But it's funny, we never run into them.
It's
So
very
I don't know.
interesting.
I'm not sure if they see us and avoid us, or we're just not going at the same time. I don't know. But anyway.
Yeah. No, this is a very, this, look, we've never been through this before. I don't know anyone who has. So we're all learning something, and we don't know how to go forward. We just have to be sensitive and as respectful as we can with each other.
Yep.
I mean, this is where you can get crazy, and you could, be demanding and pushy and force your way into. Well, no one likes people forcing their way into relationships. I wouldn't like someone forcing their way into a relationship with me or my wife. It's something that it can organically grow or not.
Yeah.
And this is something that we just have to acknowledge.
And we're hoping that maybe they'll hear from their friends, or that maybe some of their friends are leaving and why, or that, oh, we heard your mother and father, we're on Wendy Renee, or, oh, something, I don't know. It could be anything. But just like Joe said, let it happen organically.
We never know what's going to happen. We absolutely do not know. We do not know.
We just have to do what we know is right and keep moving forward with them.
This is where I will say, one of the ways that the Watchtower organization snares people is by tempting them to find out what they want to know. For example, you can know this, you can know that, you can know this, you can know this other thing, you can know this. Well, the question becomes, can you really know? Or do they just going to tell you something and then you're going to have to accept it? We have to be very careful, because if we express, we tell somebody what we want, we can easily put ourselves in their control, because now they know how to connect with us. They can promise us that they can hold it out in front of us. It's just, you have to be very careful of letting someone know what you want. They will use it against you. They'll use it to control you. And that's maybe we can't know these things that we want to know. What's going to happen to me when I die? What's going to happen to my loved one? Will I ever see my loved one again? Where can I get to? How do I get to heaven? What am I going to do in heaven? Who gets to go to heaven and why? What does it mean to be saved? All these questions, these are questions. I don't have answers to them. If someone thinks they have an answer to them, that's their business. But unfortunately, these are things by which people get controlled. And that organization knows how to do that. We're coming to find out about ourselves the hard way. We let them know, and we allowed ourselves to be controlled by them because of what we desired. Living forever in paradise.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Hey, it's Dan. Yeah, great show. I was just listening in, and I was thinking about that movie you guys were talking about. Angela had mentioned, we went to it, and if you guys remember, you guys stayed to the end to hear the final speech?
Yes, we
Sure
did. We did.
Yeah, and I think you guys may have brought that out, but the final speech was that they were telling a story, and that life changed because someone else told a story before that.
Yeah.
And so that encouraged me. That made me feel really good about what we're doing here with the 6 screen. Because everybody's telling their story, and everybody's hearing their story, and everybody's getting validated. Nobody has to say, wow, was it wrong? Did I do this? Did I do that? Everyone's hearing the story. Everybody's been mind trafficked. That's what I'm calling it. We've been mind trafficked. That's what that movie made me think about. We've been mind trafficked by fear, by saying ups, down, left is right, dark is light, light is dark. We have been in the hands of dark sorcerers. And the reason I call them sorcerers is because what a sorcerer is just a person that's connected to source. We're all connected to source, but these people claim that they're more connected to source, and they're dark sorcerers. And the reason they're dark sorcerers is because they're bullshitters. And here's the deal. If you're a person that's connected and you're a truthful person, you're a good sorcerer in the sense that, that you're living from integrity, you're living from truth, so you're sharing good stuff. It really is. If you look up dark sorcerer, it'll tell you a person that manipulates, lies, keeps you in fear, is unintegral and covert. And so all those things we have been under. We have been under the hands of men that have played God and that are dark sorcerers. And we've been abused, we've been lied to, we've been compartmentalized, we've been disassociated from self. We've let our compasses go because we let these guys man our temple.
That's right.
The minute we signed up, the minute we were baptized, we signed indentured servants. We were indentured bitches to WATCHTOWER. We were.
So true. So true.
And you know, so we've come out of indentured slavery.
Yeah.
We've come out of, you know, mental mind effing. I mean, we have been put through the mill. And so it ain't hard for me to speak about it. It ain't hard for me to come on here and say, this is what happened. And I come on like I do because, you know, I watch my parents, you know, that were good people, that had their minds stole by WATCHTOWER. They gave it over. They became indentured servants, good for nothing slaves to WATCHTOWER. And you know what? They rotted. They rotted. Mentally, they rotted. And they threw away everything. They threw away family. They threw away my grandparents. They threw away everything. And that's all of our stories. So it's a beautiful thing that we can come on here and share this with people and say, you're not freaking crazy, people. This is what's happening. This is real. These guys are still doing it. They will not stop. They're dark sorcerers. They will not repent.
Well,
and they're actually playing God. They're saying, if you don't listen to me, if you don't listen to us, like your life depends on it, because it does.
Right.
I mean, they're telling you babies are an enemy of Jehovah. They're telling you, you know, they wish you were dead.
Yeah.
What crazy man. And I want to bring that up with that counselor or whoever you're bringing on next week.
In 2 weeks, Dan.
Play that clip. I wish they'd play that clip of Tony saying, I wish they were dead.
Yeah.
I mean, you imagine the Pope or somebody important, you know, saying, you know, they wish they were dead.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a death sentence when we come out of there. This is not freedom of religion. They call it freedom of religion. No, you're an indentured servant to WATCHTOWER. And to prove it, when you leave, they strip you of everything. You know, like a slave that leaves. If they catch them, they'll whip the hell out of them. So like us, they just destroy us. They've implanted things in our mind that, you know, we're going to suffer a second death. They've got all these scriptural implants. They're dark sorcerers, and they've used the Bible as a weapon against us.
Right.
So this is great.
Well, so Dan, you're telling me we were violated.
Yes. Oh, yes. We were manhandled. We were, and it was all. And here's what pisses me off: these dark sorcerers are using the most holy thing, you know, a Bible. I mean, they're using a Bible, all in the name of Jehovah.
Right.
We're being screwed by men who know how to manipulate. They're dark sorcerers. Go ahead.
So where's your power?
My power is in my voice.
Okay.
My power is in my connection. My power is in my integrity. I have an obligation to bring these things out, like the movie. You saw the intensity in those people. You know, it's a good intensity. It's a good thing.
Exactly.
Put your arm around somebody. Look people in the eye and say, hey, this is bullshit. Look them right in the eye.
So if we allow, I have to view it that I actually allowed myself to be violated. In fact, I personally violated my sense of integrity in exchange for what they were offering me. I violated that. I never should have violated that.
Maybe not. Because here's the thing. When I came into WATCHTOWER, my perspective wasn't that large. Going into WATCHTOWER, God's name Jehovah, we don't believe in a Trinity, you know, the world's going to end, all this paradise earth. It's kind of like kindergarten. Now, this is the way I look at it. That's kindergarten. The picture gets bigger. When you come out, you see all the boxes. You see all the boxes people are in. and you go, wow, I'm a this, I'm a that. No, you're made in God's image and likeness.
Right.
And you're amazing and you're wonderful, and God doesn't create shit. And so you get that sense of who you are, right? And so, but is it my fault that I didn't see a bigger picture? It isn't my fault. When I went in, I was like, cool, man, I know God's name. I can pray to him now. Nobody else can really pray to Jehovah because they don't know his name. That's what I was told. And you know, the earth is going to be destroyed. I can see the signs of the time. Nation rise against nation, kingdom is kingdom. They're all going to happen this generation. So, you know, I was in hook, line, and sinker. But here's the thing. You said something. You said there comes this point. Now, here's the point. There comes a point where we all have, maybe we have, a tap on the shoulder from the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, higher self. You get a call, and it says, do you want to continue on? This is not truth. And you can answer the call, which you guys did, and I did, and a lot of people on this show, or you can shove it down and be lost forever. Like when I went to that assembly, those people were in la la land. Think about this. I didn't even hear the word paradise when I was in there. You know what I heard? Camps.
Wow.
I mean, what kind of reward is that? Here's another thing they did. They were victims.
Snare is a snare.
They were victims. And they were martyrs. They were bragging about, in the beginning of that second half, it was all about martyrdom. You know, the brothers are martyrs, praise God. They were victims, and here's the worst thing. They were entitlement people. They were saying Jehovah owes us this. Jehovah will come through in what he says, and Jehovah will not be late. And that's wrong. You're not entitled to nothing.
That's right. That's right.
You know,
somehow we need to enforce clear thinking on for ourselves. We need to do it. If you wait for someone to enforce their thinking on you, you've waited too long. In other words, that was your job.
Click the apple.
That was your job.
The apple's
Just
falls
like it's my job.
We're all having a part. We're all having a part speaking our truth here. We're all telling our stories.
Yeah.
And what happens is somebody hears it, and then they hear it again, and then they hear it again, and they say, I got it. I got it. And the apple falls. And the apple falls. But what our job is to do is be integral as we can, as we continue our journey, is to continue to be integral. There's no fault. I don't think there's any fault. I don't think you should have to blame yourself, Joe, because, you know, I like the association. I like to get together.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, I don't look at it as blame. I truly don't. But I look at it as responsibility. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, so look at how you're doing now. Look at how you're doing now.
Yeah, I'm not accepting it as blame. I'm saying I am responsible. I failed to be responsible. Mm-hmm. I need to adjust that. I will be responsible. I will be responsible.
Right.
And that's the remedy.
It's a course correction. All the Bible says we got to do is turn around. Just go the other way. Just go the other way. And you know, we all had to do that. And we'll have to continue to do that. These traps aren't just in the witnesses. They're all along the journey.
Oh, we go through life.
Always course correcting. Think about it. Think about a plane that's going from one state to another. It never flies straight. It's always course correcting. So we're always going to have to course correct, but I don't think we should have to feel anything bad that we stayed there a little longer than we should. I started to wake up probably 10 years before I got out, and I started to see things. And then in the late 80s is when I came out through the generation prophecy, just asking. I didn't know you couldn't ask governing body a question like, is this generation that's 70 or 80 years into, is that prophecy changing, and why is it changing? I didn't know I was going to be branded an apostate. I had no idea. And when that happened, that was it. That was the end. When those brothers looked at me like a deer in a headlight, I was like, that's it. This is nuts. What the hell's going on? What are you guys doing? Oh, Watchtower just sent back a letter. You're on apostate. What? What's apostate watch? Oh, that's because you're entertaining apostate. What are you talking about? What do you mean? I've been preaching this dumbass message of this generation will by no means pass away till all these things occur. You know, and I had this memorized. I mean, you know, just the big tree turns this and this happens. Likewise, when you see these things, blah, blah, blah. And when, you know, and the Great Tribulation was all in that prophecy and that generation prophecy. So I was entitled to ask that question. And when governing body spanked my ass and said no, I grabbed the whip from them. And I said, you ain't spanking my ass, you freaks. Give me that goddamn whip. and I took it from them, and I took back my power,
Exactly.
and I'm not wrong. And and I don't feel bad that I was.
No, oh my goodness.
Them, but I took that whip out of their hands.
And we need to do that. And people have done that, and you're providing an example for it. I'm living off of other people's example who have done it. And you know, it's an interesting point. There's something that's really interesting. It's called retro projection, whatever that means. And what basically that means, if you want to change your present and your future, you need to change your past, your view of your past. So in other words, if your view of my past is all this negative and it's fault finding and it's weak and it's whatever, that's like a very poor foundation to build a future on. So rather what I have to do is look at it in a way where I can actually build on it and to view it in a positive way, because that's my past, and to actually make it something where I can go forward and to build on it. In other words, no blaming, like you said, not blaming, but yet, you know what? That's mine. I take ownership. I'm going to deal with it. What do I have to do to move forward from that? And frankly, that's something that we can share with each other, because because as I'm doing that, others are going to look and say, hey, you know, Joe, I see you're trying to build on that. Maybe you might want to think of this. This will help you do that. And in turn, I help others if I see them building. But there's not much you can do for blaming. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to help you blame yourself, but I'm going to help you build yourself. And we need to take responsibility for that.
Hey, Joe and Fran, this is Rick at the Sixth Grange. We got probably about 5 minutes, and then we're going to go to the news. So wrap it on up if you could get 5 minutes.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Well, I'm through talking.
Joe.
How about someone who's got something to say? Hello.
So if I read a little from the Bible, it's in Matthew 10, and this is something that I think about. But it says this: do not think that this is Jesus talking. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword.
Yeah.
For I stand against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a person's enemies will be those of his own household. So, you know, Jesus had to do an awful lot of, speaking the truth, and a lot of times it wasn't nice and pretty either.
Exactly.
And I think what we'll tend to do, we'll want to put the blame on ourselves, and not that we don't want to live as victims, but what we do want to do is be powerful in our own right. And like Dan says, I'm taking that whip right out of your hands.
Right.
You're not whipping me.
Yeah.
And so we stand strong for others in defense of what they're having to go through. And, you know, another thing too is, like, you may have been older and chosen, but there's many, many listening to this show that actually were born in,
Yes.
and they've never any other way. So I don't like it that I feel like I'm not accusing. I'm just saying that I feel like you're wanting to blame yourself. And just because your father said that, you know, the only reason why you want to go in there is because you want to be, I don't know, like taken care of. You don't want to have to think. And I get where you said that, but you know what, Joe? You were where you were, and it couldn't have been any other way. And I don't see that as wrong. It's just,
well, I was being actually I was being hopeful. I was looking forward to an opportunity for the family to volunteer for charity. It's like, that's all I was looking for. Boy, was I wrong.
It was their charity.
Boy, was I wrong.
Surprise. But you didn't. I don't think that you should fault yourself at all. And I'm glad you're going in the other route.
Actually, I don't fault myself.
No.
I charge myself with
Yeah.
doing something about it. I
Good.
charge myself with it. And so, if anybody's got any suggestions,
Can I share? Yeah. Can I share something real quick?
Please.
Yes, I think it might have been Fran or somebody was mentioning a while ago how y'all still text your children and you don't know if they get it or not.
Yes.
But at least you try, and
Yes.
that's okay. I think I've got to like to offer a suggestion. This is what I do, because I was the same way, because you never know if they can block you or if they get a new phone number or what.
Right.
Just send a postcard. With a postcard, they've got to at least see it. I mean, they can't just leave it unopened or tear it up. They'll at least see it.
That's true.
That's what I do. That's what I just sent to my daughter, even asking her, do my grandsons ever ask about any of us?
That's
Very
nice.
good.
That's
Yeah,
nice,
in fact,
Thomas.
Tom, thank you. In fact, we are sending postcards for out to all sorts just for that purpose, but maybe one
Specifically for
to
our
the children for that.
Yep.
I like that. I
Yep.
like that.
Sounds
like
like a good suggestion,
Yep,
Thomas.
yep. Big bold letters on it.
Can I just remind folks about that?
Yeah.
So again, just as a reminder, in 2 weeks, we're having Debbie Glander. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist, co-founder Authenticity Workshops, and a certified Daring Way facilitator using methodology based on the research. And Debbie specializes in eating disorders, religious trauma, and anxiety. Debbie works with clients individually in her private practice and facilitates a healing from religious and spiritual trauma process group. So in 2 weeks, we'll have Debbie Glander with us. So please stay tuned, and we'll give Rick the information so he can post it.
Thank you all.
Very good, Joe and Fran. Good program. Lots of people coming in. Really noticing we got a real uptick here tonight on a lot of people coming into the network. So that's great. You had a great program. Keep standing tall, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you very much. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick and all.
Good night.
Well, there you go. That's Fran and Joe. And what a good program that was. I enjoyed it so much. And I'm here in the studio, and we're going to be going to JW World News. That's coming up next right here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork. And we do it every Saturday night. And we're so happy that more and more people are coming in and commenting and being part of the program. It's a very interactive program. So anyways, let's do this. Let's end this program right here. And we're going to go to the other studio where we're going to go to